All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? We're back talking some hoops. Hope everybody out there having a good Wednesday. Nice 8-game slate. That's right in the wheelhouse that I like. 8 games, fun. Injury news we're waiting on. As always, there is 10 games on the docket. So, yes, 10 games tonight in the association. FanDuel and DraftKings been cutting out those later games. Hey, people complain. Not enough time with the family, sitting around the computer all night. We totally get it. DraftKings and FanDuel have listened. So 8 games on the slate, but Showdown, 2-gamer, the night slate. We'll have Showdown content over here as always. Projections updated throughout the night as always. Paired by Ben, Drew, Jordan, Nades, Richie Smalls, Wins a Lot, Evan, Mark. What is going on, everybody? Especially Nades coming off a big NHL day. Yeah, you called your shot. Called it in the wrong sport though, Nades, but it pays the same. So good stuff right there. Bring in my man Rio. How's your Wednesday afternoon going, my man?
Oh, yeah, everything's going good. A little bit behind for any of our members, waiting for the slate plan to go up. A little bit tougher when we have these earlier shows, but I'll definitely finish it up once we get off of here. But, yeah, everything was good over here. Had a pretty good night for Showdown. I saw a bunch of people. It was like a big 400-plus way chop in the big tournament last night. We had a bunch of people ship that one. The build was pretty straightforward, so – I know Parabe was a part of that train, so shout out to him. But yeah, definitely excited about this slate for sure. I just got finished up doing my write-up and getting ready for the show, and yeah, it's a really, really fun one. A lot of good games, a lot of spots to attack from a DFS perspective.
Absolutely. Again, before we get into it, go game by game. Appreciate that like button. Subscribe button also helps us out a ton. And if you do want to join us at SHIPITNation.com, we got golf locking tomorrow. Golf back in full force. Very excited for that. MMA back this weekend. NFL playoffs Saturday, Sunday, Monday. NBA, of course, as always. Hey, this is the best time of year. All the money to be made. You ship all those sports, you're looking at hella cheese right there. So plenty of sports, plenty of action. We got Showdown golf content as well. No better time to get in. And just because all the sports are going doesn't mean the price goes up. Still have weekly, monthly, 6-month, and annual packages. And to make it even cheaper, use that code MAYO. Gets you 10% off any of the monthly, 6-month, or annual packages. And the Discord comes with all those monthly, 6-month, annual packages. Does not come with the weekly package. So if you just want to give us a try, you get all the content on the site. But Discord is definitely a big part of our community over here. Again, 8 games. Looking at like the start times, I like it. A lot of time. I mean, the slate's going to be done in an hour and a half, which is always nice. A lot of 7 p.m. games, 4 of them at 7 Eastern, 2 at 7:30, 1 at 8, and 1 at 8:30. So that's nice, in my opinion. Unfortunately, like Zion, questionable. That is an 8:30 game. Any initial thoughts on this slate, though, with stars and scrubs, balanced games you're looking at, matchups, or you just want to go game by game?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of build type, I could definitely see this being a mid-tier type build. The highest spend up is only 10.5K for Shea Gilgeous, and yeah, mid-tier is pretty loaded tonight. Obviously, some pretty big games to talk about. The Washington Indy game going to be a big one. Even Sacramento Charlotte has some interest. San Antonio Detroit, 2 terrible teams with terrible defenses, and then Philly Atlanta. I think a lot of the ownership will condense around those games, and rightfully so. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think that like the Zion news is going to do much in terms of changing up the build, because you look at the price tags of the guys over there, they're all pretty priced appropriately. So it's not like you're getting a huge edge waiting for that. It's not like a Luka late scratch, like a Jokic late scratch where you're getting some really good value. I think that all these early games are the ones that we're going to want to attack.
Yep, I like it. We'll get right into it again. We appreciate everyone hanging out. Hope everybody out there having a great Wednesday afternoon. First game of the night. It's a back-to-back for the Sacramento Kings taking on the Charlotte Hornets. 230 total. Kings are favored by 8. No injury report on the Kings side, but Kevin Huerter did start like we expected. Expect them to continue to start Kevin Huerter. Sabonis monster game, monster first half yesterday for sure. Hope some people got on that. Fox, not so much. As far as the Hornets side, they're pretty thin. Cody Martin's questionable, so they could even be thinner. Mark Williams still out. Hayward out. LaMelo still out. So same story for them. Cody Martin, I'll throw it to you right away. Does Cody Martin do anything? McGowan's will probably slide in the starting lineup. Not sure that's someone we need on this slate. Terry Rozier, 8.5K. Always an interesting play. Handles the ball a lot without LaMelo. Thoughts on this first game? Solid total. Pretty big spread.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Martin news it's not huge, but it'll definitely bring in some guys into play in terms from value. You know that the head coach for Charlotte has been saying that he wants to give Nick Smith Jr. and JT Thor more minutes. I think those are two guys that would definitely benefit from Cody Martin being out. But I mean, on top of that, they're playing Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, huge minutes. You still got Brandon Miller in there, so they have enough bodies to where they don't really grade out as great values. But I think from a matchup perspective, this is a decent spot for some of these guys in the Hornets. Obviously, the Kings coming off of the back-to-back with the comeback win against the Pistons last night. The Kings defense has kind of been struggling a bit. They're more of a rim funnel this season, as has kind of been the story with them, with Sabonis down low, not that great of a rim protector. They kind of struggle with their pick and roll defense as well. So I think Terry Rozier is firmly in play at 8.5K. We know that he's going to play huge minutes. I talk about the role with him all the time. It's elite with the ball handling, touch time, assist percentage, usage, all that stuff. So I think that this is a totally fine spot to get to Terry Rozier at 8.5K. I know that a lot of people in our Discord are huge fans of him. He's made him a ton of money, or made us a ton of money this year. So I definitely like Terry Rozier. I think Miles Bridges is squarely in play too, just in terms of the minute ceiling, because he's played 40 minutes in 3 straight games, taken 18 shots in all 3 games. That resulted in fantasy scores of 47, 37.75, and 43.75. So I think that he's a totally fine option at his price tag. Those are really the main 2 guys I would be looking to on the Hornets side, though. Like I said, you could get to the Nick Smith Jr. and JT Thor if you want to. I hope that the box score watchers look at JT Thor and see 23.5 and kind of expect that again. But I remember somebody in Discord when that game was going on, they posted the play-by-play stuff, and he had like 5 or 6 offensive rebounds in 5 seconds or something. So that's kind of just the big spike in fantasy scoring came from that. But yeah, on the Kings side, great spot for Domantas Sabonis again. He's been crushing in back-to-backs this year. Not going to be on any sort of minutes restriction. Obviously, this is a great matchup versus the Hornets are bottom 5 in rim defense and bottom 2 or bottom 2 or bottom 3 in DVP to centers this season. But yeah, Sabonis has been on a tear lately. De'Aaron Fox is kind of, I don't know really what is going on with him. He seems like he could just be fatigued or maybe sick or something, but his usage has gone down, and because of that, Sabonis has climbed a ton. He's seen his assist numbers go up, the overall usage, touch time, everything going up. He's got a triple-double in 6 of his last 11 games and 3 of his last 4 games. So I think that the ceiling is really high for him, even in a back-to-back, and I don't think that he'll really get too much ownership. But yeah, like I mentioned with Fox, I don't really want to play him right now just with the current form. He just looks off. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, he's just kind of a tough click right now. I think that you could definitely get some Malik Monk or Keegan Murray. Great matchup versus the Hornets. They're just terrible defensively all around. And the Kings they're really tightening up their rotation right now. They kind of taken out Davion Mitchell, Alex Len, JaVale McGee they'll get in there for a couple minutes. Duarte's out of the rotation. The Sasha Vezenkov is out of the rotation. So they're running like 7.5 guys. If you consider Harrison Barnes, I mean, he's been getting cut down too by Trey Lyles as well. So I think that all these guys kind of make a little bit of sense when you take into account how tight the rotation has been.
Yeah, great breakdown. Any thoughts on if Cody Martin plays? Value isn't great on this. We do have Q tags that could open up some stuff, but I don't know. Any thoughts there? He's 5.3K. The guard and forward eligibility is pretty nice. Get me 25, something like that, and I'll be good with it. Any thoughts on him? In this game, I think Rozier, he's definitely going to be owned. He'll be, I think the mid tier. I mean, there's only so many ways to go up top. The mid tier is definitely the route people are going to go. 8.5 is a great price for Terry, who's going to chuck. Outside of that, though, I don't think much ownership really gets to this game. But thoughts on Cody Martin if he plays as the value, and then if he's out, would any of these guys like a Brandon Miller and Nick Smith and McGowan's, any of that, would that do anything or put them in play?
Yeah, Cody Morton plays. I think that he's fine at 5.3K, but I think that there's enough high upside guys in that same range. I mean, even Kevin Love, the same price tag. I think that Jalen Smith is interesting as well. Like there's plenty of guys cheaper or a little bit more expensive that have equal to or better upside. So I don't think I really want to lock in that spot for him. And yeah, I think that Nick Smith Jr. would be totally fine as a value play, but I think he's only point guard eligible, which is kind of tough because point guard is really loaded tonight. So maybe not really looking to anybody on that side.
Yeah, that's a good shout talking about point guard. Terry does have shooting guard eligibility, which is nice. But this next game, Spurs Pistons 238 total. Spurs favored by 3. Zach Collins out. Cade Cunningham's out. Isaiah Stewart's doubtful. So no changes on either team here. But talking point guard, Trey Jones in the starting lineup. I think he will be 5.8K. Pretty popular on this slate. And you can go right to the other side. Killian Hayes, disappointing yesterday. I know a lot of people got there, but price hasn't moved, 5.5K. I think he's pretty interesting. Probably a little ownership. Jalen Duren absolutely smashed earlier in the game, slowed down a bit, but paid off the price tag. I think he's interesting. We mentioned Bojan Bogdanovic yesterday. I know we were a little worried about the coach speak. Looking at the minutes, 32 minutes. So, I mean, he was playing really good ball. He shot the ball 10 for 14 from the field, 4 for 7 from deep, and still only got 32 minutes. So I think maybe that is the cap, especially when we're talking a back-to-back. I liked him more yesterday, and with what you said yesterday with the coaches, now a back-to-back. He played a great game and still only got up to 32. I don't know. I'll let you talk about him. If you tell me he gets 34, even 32 minutes, maybe I'd play him in this spot without Cade. He handles a lot, or he's a good shooter. He handles the ball a lot. They can post him up in the low post for him to make plays. Outside of that, yeah, I like both point guards. I like Jalen Duren. Talk to me about Bojan, and then talk about Wemby a little bit as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll start on the Spurs side, but just like from a matchup perspective, this is just a really strong game to attack with both these teams in the bottom 6 in defensive rating, bottom 8 rim defense. The Spurs are a huge 3-point funnel as well. They're bottom 2 in 3-point defense, and both these teams are playing up in pace right now. So I think that it's a really, really good game to attack. But yeah, I'll start with Wemby. He's going to see his minutes limit right around 24 to 26 minutes in that range. But even in those short of minute stints, he could definitely pay off the price tag at 9K. I mean, this is such a good matchup for him. I mentioned yesterday on the show when talking about Sabonis, just obviously he crushed, but I was talking about like from a ceiling perspective, the way that the Pistons were giving up a lot of fantasy points was blocks and steals. They're dead last in blocks allowed and 5th worst in steals allowed to the center position, and that kind of plays right into Wemby's game. Obviously, he's like an elite defender, an elite blocks and steals guy, averages 3.3 blocks per game, 1.2 steals per game. So I think even in 24 to 26 minutes, he could definitely get up to 60 fantasy points just with, I mean, I could even see him getting double-digit blocks and steals in total in this game and putting up a huge score. So I definitely have interest in Wemby at 8.9K. Vassell has a really good matchup too. The Pistons are one of the worst on-ball defenses. He's one of the safer players on the teams in terms of a minutes perspective. Going to see around 35 minutes, but 7.3K, kind of expensive for him. You really need to get like close to 50, and I don't know how many times he's done that this year. You know, he's a really, really solid scorer, but this might not be the spot for him just from a pricing standpoint. Kind of same thing with Keldon too. Really big spot, but 7K coming off of the bench. Going to see around 31, 32 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. I find it kind of tough to click on him or to click on really any bench player at 7K. So I think that I can get away from him, but the usage is going to be pretty good in the second unit. But yeah, you mentioned Trey Jones. He's definitely my preferred option on the Spurs side outside of Wemby. Pop finally put him back into the starting lineup, and he's seen 35 and 34 minutes in those 2 starts. And matchup-wise, yeah, one of the best ones in the league versus going to see Killian Hayes on defense a lot. He's just an awful defender. So that's a big spot for Trey Jones. He can get there in multiple ways, has a pretty solid floor with the assist as well. And then, yeah, I'll mention Dominic Barlow at 3.7K. I don't think that he's the craziest value play. Going to see the backup center minutes And if Wemby sees, 24, 26, that should be about 22-ish minutes for him. So I think that he's definitely play at 3.7K, and it looked like a really, really solid value play. And then on the Pistons side, I like the spot for Jalen Duren. And yeah, like you mentioned, he was on his way to a huge game last time versus the Kings, picked up a ton of fouls in a quick amount of time, and then lost some minutes, only got up to 24. But yeah, like what Monty Williams said about getting him more touches and kind of running their offense through him was definitely true. He saw his touches increase, and he was even bringing the ball up the floor at times. So I think at 7.1K, he's got a lot of upside. Obviously, it'd be a lot better when he's not facing Victor Wembanyama because he's super lengthy and gonna make it tougher for him to score down low. But the usage was pretty solid for him: 28.3% usage rate and 25% assist percentage last game without Cade. Obviously, a really small sample size, but I do like Duren at 7.1K. I think the Ivy is fine. 6.8K is pretty expensive for somebody of his caliber right now, but I mean matchups good, pretty solid usage rate without Cade. I just think that he's kind of just fine. And yeah, the Bojan thing, I don't know if that's like a floor for him or if that's the ceiling in terms of minutes at 32, 33 minutes. But matchup wise, this is probably one of the best ones he'll face all year long. The Spurs are terrible 3-point defense, and Bogey can definitely get hot. I think 6.6K is pretty reasonable for him from an upside standpoint. So I think that he's in play. And I don't really want to play Killian Hayes right now, 5.5K. He just doesn't do much outside of assist. I mean, he's not looking to score. It took him almost 2 quarters to even attempt a shot last game. So I just don't really see a ceiling for him at 5.5K. Much rather find the $300 to get to Trey Jones.
Yeah, great breakdown. We're in lockstep with a lot of it. I love Trey Jones, love Duren. The Wemby thing's a tough one for me because, man, a guy's not going to play 30 minutes and you see that price tag, but you talked everything about the matchup. When he's on the court, he's a complete monster. I feel the same way with Keldon, 7K off the bench. I just can't do it. Vassell's a little interesting. You liked his matchup. Ownership should be pretty low. He can get hot and put up points. So I think he is an interesting GPP play. Definitely love this game, though. We're going to get to the next game, which is the best on the slate, at least in my opinion. A lot of people, Pacers, Washington. But talking Duren and Miles Turner right in that 6'8", 7'1" price tag. Both are going to be pretty popular. I think Turner will be more popular. Obviously, you can't play 2 centers. But if you had to pick one, who would you lean between those two?
Probably go Turner. Just like the matchup a little bit better for him. I think that the minutes are a little bit more shaky for Miles Turner, though. He could definitely lose minutes to a guy like Isaiah Jackson. They could run more small ball as well. So I think the minutes are a little bit less secure for Miles Turner, but the matchup is much better.
I like it. Paraby likes your Barlow call, and then 2 other names. I have no interest personally. Alec Burks, he's the man, but price is the thing. Can't do it at this price tag. Coming off the bench, the minutes there. And then Chetty for 4K. It's no for me. Any interest in those two, though?
No, not really.
Let's keep it moving. Next game on the slate again. 5 to talk about or is it 4? It's 4 to talk about at 5 or at 7 p.m. Eastern. Biggest total, best game environment. Washington against the Pacers. 252 total. Indy is favored by 8. Looking at the injury report, unfortunate Tyrese is out. It looks like he could have been out for a lot longer. So good news there. He is out for this game, though. And then Landry Shamet out on the Washington side, which doesn't mean much. I mean, talk about goodness. The monster total, 2 teams that don't play much defense. I guess I'll throw it to you. Where do you want to start in terms of ownership? I think Miles Turner and Jalen Smith are 2 of the more popular plays, probably. Jalen Smith having power forward eligibility is huge. Miles Turner just center eligible. But, man, I think you can get Tyus. Talk about Trey Jones. Tyus Jones, what a year he's having. Kuz, Obi, Nembhard, Gafford even. I think this game has all the goodness. Start with wherever you want to go and take it away. But this is one I have a lot of interest in for sure.
Yeah, definitely in agreement with you there. I think this is a min 1 situation on both sides. I think you just want ownership in this game in multiple ways. So definitely have a ton of interest. Yeah, matchup wise, I think we know how this is going to play out. These are 2 fast-paced teams, 2 really terrible rim defenses. Pacers are pretty bad in transition, or the Wizards are a bad transition team as well, and the Pacers are number 2 transition offense. So I think that Obviously, there's a clear pathway to a massive game here, but you're going to want ownership in this game up and down your lineups. So I'll start with the Wizards side, though. I like the spot for Kyle Kuzma here. He seems a little bit too cheap in terms of the game environment, and I think this game could stay pretty close throughout. We've seen times where the Wizards are able to keep the game close, and Kuzma just has a massive ceiling in those games. Last game against OKC, which is kind of considered a bad matchup for a player like Kuzma. He got up to 48.75 DK points, had 15 rebounds. I wouldn't expect him to get that many rebounds. He could definitely flirt with double digits, but it was worth noting that the Wizards did run out more of a small ball lineup towards the end of the game, which is going to give a guy like Kuzma, Deni Avdija better rebounding rates. So I think Kuzma is a great play here. Pacers are dead last in DVP to power forwards this season, which just strengthens the Kuzma upside case. So ton of interest in him. Deni Avdija, equally as good of a spot, comes in $1,400 cheaper than Kuzma, and also should see pretty solid minutes in the low 30s in a close game. On the season, he's a 1.01 fantasy point per minute producer with a good amount of upside in close games. Flash 50-point upside a couple times in the past month or so. So knowing that he has that within the range of outcomes, I think you should definitely have interest in him. Like the spot for him a lot. Tyus Jones, like you mentioned, he's definitely in play. 6K. He had a triple-double the last time these guys played. So I don't know how many more times he'll do that in his career, but he seems like a pretty solid play at 6K. Gonna see probably the weaker defender. I would assume that in the starting lineup, Jordan Poole would see Andrew Nembhard, and Nembhard is as not great of a fantasy producer he's a really solid defender. So I think that could give a little bit more of an offensive upside case to Tyus Jones. So I definitely have interest in him at 6K. You could do a Tyus and Trey Jones stack and just fill out the rest of your roster that way. Both are pretty solid plays tonight. But yeah, I don't really have interest in Jordan Poole, though. This is just not the matchup for him. The Pacers are, I don't know if I want to say a good three-point defense. They allow the least amount of three-pointers per game, but that could just be because their rim defense is so bad that all of the offense is kind of funneled to the rim for opposing teams. That's just not really Jordan Poole's game. 5.9K is a solid price tag, but even you look at last game where he shot the ball 17 times, scored 24 real points, and still only got up to 33 fantasy points. So I just don't really see like that big of an upside case, but obviously because I'm saying that now, he probably goes for 40 plus. But yeah, I like your Gafford shot too. Obviously great matchup for opposing centers against the Pacers who have terrible rim defense. So I'm totally fine with him. Outside of that, though, I think those are the main guys you're looking to. I think Coulibaly could be in play at 4.6K, but I don't know what the upside case is for him. And maybe he takes more minutes away from Jordan Poole, and that would give him, a clearer runway to a higher ceiling game from a minutes perspective. Obviously, it's a great matchup versus the Pacers in an up-tempo game, but not sure what the ceiling really is on him. And then on the Pacers side, Miles Turner is going to be the top price player on the Pacers, and he's going to have to step into a really big offensive role if this team wants to stay competitive without Halliburton. This is also the best matchup for opposing centers. The Wizards dead last in DVP to the center position. So he's in a great spot here. 6.8K, pretty reasonable price tag for him. So I have a lot of interest in him. TJ McConnell, I would love to get your thoughts on this because I think this is kind of the big talking point on the slate, the TJ versus Nembhard situation. Obviously, TJ is $1,500 more expensive, but coming in at probably a fraction of the ownership, seeing like almost 40% on Nembhard. And I don't know. I kind of lean TJ. Just you tell me that I could get 25, 30 minutes out of TJ and he's going to be single digit ownership. I mean, he's got realistically 50-point upside. He's got triple double upside. And this is just such a good matchup for point guards. I don't know. I would love to get your thoughts on that though, just because we know that Nembhard's going to start and see a bigger usage bump, but TJ is kind of the guy for me.
Yeah, I mean, Nembhard, I agree with you. I much prefer TJ. I like his upside more in GPPs. However, like I don't think you need to play either. Like Tyus is still 700 cheaper. We talked about Trey Jones, the Roziers. Like point guard is loaded today. I do prefer TJ for the ownership discount for sure. When he's on the court, he's more active. I think his playmaking left to go up without Tyrese. Him and Tyrese shared the court a lot when TJ did get in his second stint and stuff, which obviously you're playing a back role to that. But we've seen TJ in the past couple of years when he did get the opportunity handling the ball. I mean, he can be aggressive. He makes plays. Obviously, the stock upside is always there. Yeah, I prefer TJ for sure over Nembhard. Definitely prefer like the Miles Turner, the Jalen Smiths, maybe even Obi Toppin because of the value and stuff there. Yeah, that's my take. I'm on the TJ side with you. 6'7" though, you got to do something at that price. So I'm not in love with it, but I do. I don't love Nembhard much.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. I just will mention this. It's there's been a 370-minute sample size of TJ McConnell on the court without Tyrese Halliburton, and he averages almost 50 DK points per 36 minutes. So, I mean, man, if he gets 30 plus minutes, I really do think that he's got huge upside. Like,
what would you pencil?
Above 50.
What would you pencil him in for minutes? What's your guess?
I would say 28 is probably about where I would project him, and then 32 is probably the high end. Just because, I mean, Nembhard is coming off of a back injury as well. I mean, that's not really something to mess around with when you're talking about a young guy. He's had a multiple injury game absence with a bunch of different injuries. So I don't think that Nembhard, we haven't projected. I'm seeing like around 30 minutes on Nembhard, and I kind of see it like, that just seems a little bit high for me. I just don't know if I can see him getting up to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, 30 minutes for TJ McConnell. I'll sign up at this ownership, no doubt about that. He's always active. He's always doing something. He ain't gonna like chill in the corner, which is always the worry about players. So yeah, I'm in. I like the McConnell over Nembhard show for sure.
A couple other guys I wanted to mention on the Pacers really quickly. I think that this is a sneaky, really good spot for Benedict Mathurin as well. I think he's kind of the biggest winner of the Tyrese Halliburton injury outside of TJ and Nembhard, obviously, but he leads the team in usage with Halliburton off the court, 26.5 usage percentage. He averages 37 DK points per 36. But on top of that, he's been playing really well lately. He's kind of taken away minutes from Buddy Hield, Bruce Brown to a lesser degree, but he's seen 29, 35 minutes in back-to-back games, and the matchup, obviously great versus the Wizards, but for a player of his archetype, he's looking to get to the rim. He's one of the Pacers' better transition scorers, and the Wizards just have no rim protection, and they have no transition defense. So I think that he's got pretty solid upside at 6.4K, and I don't really see many people going to him. So I have interest in Benedict Mathurin here. Yeah, we already touched on the Nembhard situation. We're kind of under on him. I think in like single entry cash game stuff, you're probably locking in Nembhard. Well, I don't know. You're the cash guy, but I do see a pretty solid projection on him.
Definitely in play, but as of now, I don't have the cash report up yet. Still hoping to get some news before, but as of now, he would not be on the cash report for me right now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely in cash consideration for sure. And again, cash report, everything always up at SHIPIT Nation, updated throughout. So make sure to check all that out. But yeah, right now, like Miles Turner is way more of a priority for me than Nembhard. I like Rozier's price a lot. So yeah, but 5.2K is a good price tag.
For sure. And Jalen Smith will be the last guy I will mention on the Pacers side. He's also going to see a bigger offensive responsibility with Halliburton out. He's shown to be a pretty capable scorer at times too. They were kind of feeding him a little bit in the post last game versus the Celtics. Just the issue of the minute ceiling has not really been there, but matchup wise, Wizards terrible rim defense. So I think that he's firmly in play at 5K. I just wish that he got more minutes because I think he's got huge upside if you were to see close to 30 minutes.
No Obi love, Nesmith. Like these are the games I like playing Obi, like fast pace, up and down, just get out and run. There's a lot of pass from there. Any thoughts on him or Nesmith? The Benedict call, I will say, he might be like 1% owned, like if that. So for sure, you can build a lot of chalk around that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, in terms of Obi, I don't know. He's just the minutes have not really been there for him. I know that Rick Carlisle likes him, but they're pretty deep in their, the front court, the power forward, center spots. So I don't know. I like Obi as a player. This does profile as a really good matchup for him, but so did that Atlanta game, and he only got 22 minutes. So I think I'm going to be off of Obi Toppin here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. And we still do have Q tags. We're about to get to the next game that could open up more value. So spent a good amount of time on this Pacers-Washington game and the Detroit Spurs game because they're two of the best games on the slate. In my opinion, they're probably – Philly-Atlanta is a good one too that we'll get to. But two of the better games on the slate for sure. Some of these other games will go much quicker. Looking at the likes, a little disappointed right now. Take a timeout, take 1 second. We appreciate it. Thumbs up. You can click it. You don't even have to worry about missing information. There we go. That should be plenty of time. We appreciate that a ton. Mayo appreciates that a ton. Helps us give you free shows on the daily over here. Also, that subscribe button helps us out a ton. And a couple new faces trickled in. Wins a lot's in here. Drew's in here. Ryan Shepard's in here. Apone, what is going on? Sean Sullivan. Eddie in here. Chops in here. Could be Travis. Hope everybody out there. Steven, what is going on as well? Hope you all having a great day. 8 games to talk about. 3 down. 5 to go. Actually, that'd be 6 to go. Actually, no. What am I doing? I know 8 minus 5 is 3, but there we go. 5 games to talk about right here. And so much going on with these 2 monitors, Rio. I was including the late games of the next 2, then I was like, oh, we got 10 games on the slate. That's not even close to right. But hey, we don't have to touch on those last 2 games. Minnesota Timberwolves, Boston Celtics, 224 total. Boston favored by 10. This is the least appealing game on the slate for me. If Gobert, so on the Minnesota side, Gobert's questionable, Conley's out. If Gobert's out, is it going to be Naz Reid? And if it is, always Naz Reid is a fun click. Boston side, Porzingis is out. They're still priced up and healthy enough, though. I don't know. I'm probably going to completely fade the spot. Let me know if you see anything different. Talk about Gobert news, though. If he's, besides Naz Reid, if he gets a start, like a Kyle Anderson at 4-4, like we just talked about Obi in that same range. Naz has power forward eligibility, which is nice. The price tag is 5.2, though. It's not completely free. Still, if he gets a start, I have interest. And then maybe Cat or something like that. Rebounding floor goes up at 7.9K. But if Gobert's in, I got nothing in this one. What do you see?
Yeah, I'm pretty fine getting away from this game. There's just way too many other spots that are much better. And even some later games we haven't even talked about yet, to want to lock in some guys in this game. I mean, these are 2 of the best defenses in the league. I'm kind of kicking myself last night because I was trying to get in a bet on the Boston side. I saw the report that the Wolves they had to take off, or their plane got delayed till this morning, so they had to travel this morning. So I was kind of anticipating some guys to sit or just for them not to be full performance. So I wasn't able to get that in, unfortunately. But yeah, I just don't think that you really need to go there. If Rudy Gobert is out, then I would assume they probably put Kyle Anderson in the starting lineup. They like to go to him to fill in for the Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert type plays. And then Naz Reid will definitely fill in backup center minutes. So he would be an interesting play just because we know the upside is definitely there for him. But from a minute standpoint, I don't think that his are going to like increase that much. He's probably still going to see around 25 to 28 minutes, which is definitely good for Naz Reid. But I think that we could just look elsewhere. I mean, if you're telling me I'm like choosing between him or like a Cody Martin, or is it Cody or Caleb on Charlotte? I think it's Cody, right?
Cody, yeah. Cody's on Charlotte. Caleb, we'll get there, but they're out. He's out.
Yeah. So I would definitely take Naz over that type of player, but yeah, I don't think we need to go there in this slate. I think there'll be better spots open up later, or just better like roster constructions. Building around the mid tier seems much better to kind of waste a roster spot on some of these shaky value pieces. Like I've even seen Jordan McLaughlin with a decent ownership and a decent projection and a decent amount of ownership. I just don't. I mean, they still have Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns to soak up a ton of usage. So I just don't see it for these guys.
Yeah, mine would just be slow-mo. If he gets the start over Gobert's out, I'd be good with slow-mo at 4-4. Otherwise, if it's Naz, I'd like him at 5-2. Mark a freaking watcher, so he knows the drill. I'm sorry if you are a Minnesota fan or something. Hey, that's how she goes. And I bet you if you faded Minnesota pretty much all year, I mean, you're definitely not losing money because of it. That's for sure. So, yeah, another day not having interest in Minnesota. If one of Ant or Cat, or I guess 2 of Ant, Cat, Gobert are out, maybe we'll get to some Minnesota, maybe late in the year for you, Mark. But, yeah, it's a team, 224 total, almost 10-point dogs, 2 good defensive teams. If you want to play them, they're going to be low owned, so you got that going for you. Keep it rolling. Next game, OKC Thunder, Miami Heat, 233 total. OKC favored by 4.5. No injury news on the OKC side to worry about. On the Miami side, though, yep, Caleb Martin is out. Jimmy Butler is out. Kyle Lowry is out. Jaime Jaquez, man, the price is finally up there, but I'm a fan of his game. He does a lot. He contributes in a lot of areas. Double-double upside for sure. 6.1K, going to be pretty low owned. I think he's fine. Josh Richardson, I expect to get the most ownership in this game by far, though. 4.6K. Thoughts on him? Thoughts on Jaime? I mean, you can always play SGA. I guess the question is, do you think we have enough value right now for SGA to be the top guy? And then like an SGA Rozier build or something like that. Do you think we have enough value to get there right now? Only point guard eligible for SGA is a little tougher, though, but break down this one.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm going to say about SGA. I always kind of take an underweight stance on him just with the price tag baked in and the like upside case, I guess. You know, you need close to 40 points. I just give the same spiel every time I talk about him. You need close to 40 points for him to kind of start to reach a ceiling that's going to bury you for not playing him. And I just think that there's better people at the point guard spot that are cheaper and have similar to better upside. So I probably will not be playing any SGA tonight. I think the matchup is just about neutral for him. But yeah, you're competing with guys like Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, all the value point guards as well. So he's going to come in low owned, I'm guessing. But I just kind of I agree with it. I won't be going there.
Who do you think he draws on defense?
I would assume it's going to be Josh Richardson if he's starting.
And if it's not Richardson starting, like if they go, I guess RJ Hanson would be maybe the only one, unless they go Hero, Jaquez, Duncan, or something like that. But if it's not Jay Rich starting, who do you think it'd be? Because it ain't going to be Hero probably. Jaquez, whoever starts, I guess would probably be it. Yeah, and you think Richardson does get the nod?
I think so. I think projected starters had Hampton in there. Actually, I'm seeing Duncan, Tyler Hero, Duncan, Jaquez, Jovic, and Bam.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the team they're running out there, then a little bit more interest. They probably would put Jaquez on him. Jaime Jaquez is just kind of like going off topic a little bit, but he's like the perfect heat for like Eric Spoelstra. I just think that he fits in so well with that team.
I agree. He was the stud at UCL. I was surprised to see his game. I mean, you see all those guys, the Frank Kaminsky's of the world, that college studs, but it's like, man, are you not athletic enough? Or are you too? He just plays at his own pace and is always in the right spot. I like his game.
Yeah, he comes in as like a very mature rookie to me. Obviously, he played a long time in college. I think that kind of speaks to why he's playing as well as he is now. But yeah, he's a stud. Definitely a big fan of his game. But yeah, on the OKC side, outside of Shea, I just don't really want to get to any of these guys. I mean, Jalen Williams' role is increasing as a ball handler. He's kind of taken over the second unit usage over Giddey now. I think that he could be in play at 7K, but I like some other spots better. This is definitely not a Chet spot going against Bam. Bam's a great defender. He could definitely get Chet into foul trouble pretty quickly, so I'm off of him. And yeah, Giddey, he's still not seeing the minutes that he needs to. I mean, he's getting there in different ways, but I just don't think that he's not going to see the 30 minutes that I think you need from somebody at that price tag. So I'm okay getting away from him, kind of full fading OKC outside of Jalen Williams a little bit, and I guess SGA could remain in the player pool. And then on the Miami side, I think Bam's in a pretty good spot here. OKC struggles pretty badly in not versus centers, but just rebounding the ball. They're not a strong rebounding team. Chet is he's being just kind of pushed around down low, and Bam, super physical guy. So I could see him putting up a pretty big rebounding game. They're running more of the offense through him as well. So I think that could give him a bigger opportunity for assists in this matchup. I think Tyler Hero's in a fine spot as well. Not going to see, he'll see Lou Dort and Casey Wallace, SGA on defense, which would definitely make things more difficult on him. But I think his ball handling could definitely increase as well with Kyle Lowry ruled out here. No Caleb Martin as well. So he's got a pretty big minutes upside, and the Thunder are a little bit of a 3-point funnel right now. So I think he could put up a decent scoring output at 7.9K. Really solid price tag for him. I think the thing that's keeping Jaquez in play is just the minutes. He's going to see huge minutes here with this team being as thin as they are, especially in the forward position with no Martin, no Jimmy Butler. So I think he's fine to keep in play just from the minutes, but the matchup is not that great for him. Kevin Love been playing really well lately, been a solid fantasy producer over the last 4 games, scored no less than 30.5 DK points over the last 4 games. Just the minutes aren't really there for him, but think that he's a pretty solid point per dollar play. I think Duncan Robinson kind of sneaky, 5K, really good matchup for 3-point shooters. He's added more playmaking to his game, got up to 7 assists last game, kind of like the Max Strus conversation we've had a couple times where they're doing a little bit more than just shooting the ball. I don't want to say that he has like slate breaking ability, but he's definitely got a ceiling at 5K, and in a matchup where the Thunder struggle versus 3-point shooters or just funnel more of their defense to 3-point shooters, I think that he's firmly in play. And then Josh Richardson, 4.6K, really solid value right now, projecting really well. So I think that he's a totally fine option.
If he doesn't start, what are your thoughts on Richardson? Ownership will come down, and I still think, he could play the same minutes as if he did start. Like, they just don't have that. You can always run Hero at the point and just play him 40 minutes. But still, for at least defense-wise and stuff, like, their backcourt, RJ Hampton, Duncan Robinson, and that's it, really. Like, Tyler Hero. Like, they just don't have anyone really in the backcourt. So even if he doesn't start, you feel good about him?
Yeah, he'll still play pretty solid minutes, probably still play starter-like minutes. I think he's fine regardless.
Yeah, and Drew was definitely happy that you brought up Duncan Robinson, and it makes sense. Ownership's going to be low. We just talked about the lack of depth they have at guard. He does have guard and forward eligibility, and he'll chuck. We know what Duncan Robinson is. You mentioned last game, 7 assists. He got up to 31 DK points. Then you look at it, shot 4 from 12 and 3 for 10 from deep. A couple of those more go in. You could be sitting at a 40 spot there. So, yeah, Duncan, at pretty low ownership. I do not mind that. And I know Drew definitely loves that. Hey, if you think he's a lock for 5X, might as well lock him in your team for sure at that ownership. So, yeah, SGA, he's just so good in real life. So it makes you want to click him more. I do agree with you, like the 40 real points type of stuff. That side's a lot easier for me to get away. It probably would just be SGA or nothing really, but Hero, interesting and pretty low ownership. Jaquez playing a bunch of minutes. Bam at a center position. I think most people probably won't go that high. And then J-Rich. Yeah, I think this Miami side's interesting. I don't want to jam them, though. It's still – there's still multiple – like, is it a Hero game? Is it a Bam game? A Duncan game? At their price tags, it's not a spot like I want 3 Heat, I don't think, on too many lineups. But 1 or 2, all at their ownership, besides Josh Richardson, will be pretty overweight. So talk if they do start RJ Hampton at 3K, which I do think is a possibility. Would you have interest there? He's 3K. He's mid-price.
Not really. He's just such a low usage guy. What is even like the minutes ceiling for him? Like you saw 25 against Golden State and still only put up 13.5 DK points.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'll be going there. I just don't think because you don't really need a min price value on this slate because SGA is the highest price player at 10.5K. You don't really even have interest in him. So I don't think you need to mess around with a guy like RJ Hampton when there's much stronger plays in the value or in the mid tier.
Yep, that's a great point. It's a mid tier build. Like there's not Luka, there's not Giannis, there's not stuff like that you absolutely need it. I don't think it's the worst thing because it kind of gets you on a different roster construction. Unless he did pop, then I definitely wouldn't like him as much. But yeah, I'm with you. He's been low usage since he was at Orlando. Not even sure he does start, though. They probably do go Richardson. Couple games left on the slates. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out. If you do want to join us at ShipItNation.com, make sure you do use that promo code MAYO. Gets you 10% off all membership plans for monthly, 6-month, and annual. Use that code MAYO, 10% off. You see it right there. NFL is still going on. MLB, next thing you know, it'll be here, which is crazy to think about. NBA going on, PGA going on, MMA going on, NHL going on. And shout out to Nades. NHL chat has been crushing it. I put in my first single game parlay ever today in the NHL street. So if you're in the Discord, you can go check it out over there. That is all I will say about that because I don't know shit about hockey. As far as NHL wise, and you can go in the Discord and read why I bet on that. But let's keep it rolling. That's what the fun thing is. NFL best ball, people always talk about. College football, it's not something we offer, but Smarty absolutely crushed it all season long. A lot of people had fun sweating in there. So much going on. Tennis chat as well. So get in the Discord if you do join one of those monthly, 6-month, annual packages and use that promo code MAYO. 3 games left. Philadelphia 76ers, Atlanta Hawks. Big total, 244. Philly is favored by 1, and we do have some injury news, very important in this one. Philly side, Joel Embiid is out. Expect Paul Reed to start. D'Anthony Melton is questionable. Then going to the Hawks side, DeJounte questionable, Clint Capella questionable, Wesley Matthews questionable, DeAndre Hunter is still out. The 3 games on the slate that I had circled as my favorites, the Pacers-Wizards game, this game, and then Detroit-San Antonio. This is a very good game and only can get better with this injury news. So any leans on some of these Q tags, and then break it down however you want.
Yeah, I mean, Achilles soreness for Capella that doesn't really sound good. I think that he's a pretty good chance to sit. He's had a history of Achilles injuries. He sat out for multiple games with Achilles injuries in his career. But DeJounte downgrade to questionable. He's been kind of in the midst of all the trade talks, so maybe they got a trade on the table for him. Maybe he's going to get moved after this game.
Utah.
I would love that. I don't know if they're looking for him or like if there's been any talks about that, but I think that he would fit in so well with that team. And
what if they shipped your boy Kante though for it?
I'd be fine with that.
I knew it.
DeJounte is my guy. I love his game, man. He's fun to watch. Really, just a solid all around ball player. I think that we've seen him run a team before with the Spurs. He's just a man. Big fan of his, but
I agree.
Yeah, I think that he's got a good chance to sit here. Obviously, with the midday downgrade to questionable, it wasn't like a downgrade to probable, is all the way to questionable. So he's probably going to sit. Obviously, it's going to give more usage to Trae Young. 9.9K is already seeing a ton of minutes, already dominating usage and assist percentage for this team, touch time, all that stuff. So he's going to be a really strong play at 9.9K. Could bring Bogdanovich into the rotation a little bit more. I'm not sure if they would want to start with him. I guess they might have to. Maybe they go Trent Forrest to start just for the defense, but obviously Bogdan's going to be the biggest beneficiary with no DeJounte Murray, and he would be in play for sure. But yeah, game environment wise, this is really solid. I think that the Sixers, they kind of rate out as a pretty solid defense in terms of defensive rating when you look at the numbers, but they're struggling with their rim defense right now. Obviously, not having Joel Embiid down there is going to hurt them a bit, but bottom 7 rim defense right now, bottom 4 in transition defense, and those are kind of 2 spots where the Hawks are looking to play more into. Like they're really solid transition offense, going to look to get out and run. They're a top pace team, so really good spot for them. And equally as good of a spot, if not better, for the Sixers. The Hawks are awful defensively all season long. Going to be without their best on-ball defender too if DeJounte Murray were to sit. Bottom 4 in defensive rating, bottom 4 rim defense, bottom 6 3-point defense, and bottom 3 in transition defense. So, man, this is going to be definitely a game to attack. And starting with the Sixers side, Tyrese Maxey, huge spot here for him, sub 9K. Just, for all those reasons I mentioned, that kind of is exactly how Tyrese Maxey plays. He's a, fast guard, going to look to get downhill, get to the rim. And with no Embiid, obviously he's leading the team in usage and assist percentage. So not having Melton there too would just kind of solidify his upside case. So I love Maxey tonight, probably my favorite overall play on the slate. Going to definitely be having him across a ton of my lineups. Tobias Harris, very interesting too, sub 7K, going to be making his return after the 1 game absence. Obviously sees a big usage bump without Embiid as well. And as much as I love Jalen Johnson as like a talent in the league, he's just he's a pretty bad defender, I'll say, to just put it nicely. So I think that Tobias Harris, being the seasoned veteran that he is, he's going to take advantage of that. Really solid price tag for him, and he can get there in multiple ways. So I have interest in him. I think if DeAnthony Melton is out again, we could look to Kelly Oubre, who's going to be the 3rd fiddle on offense. Played 37 minutes last game. I think that's very much on the table here again, and he's a player that plays well in transition as well. And outside of those 3, though, I'm not really messing with any of these other guys. It's kind of tough to pay 5.7K for Paul Reed when they're almost splitting the center minutes down the middle with him and Mo Bamba. And, I mean, even Mo at 4.5K is not really cheap enough to consider as a backup center. So I think that you're really just looking to the main 3 guys on the Sixers side and then kind of moving on. On the Atlanta side, you already mentioned the Trae Young stuff. Going to like him a ton if DeJounte Murray is rolled out here. Would like him even better if DeAnthony Melton is rolled out as well. Just DeAnthony Melton, a really solid on-ball defender, so that would kind of make things a little bit easier for him. But yeah, he's got a really solid floor just from the assist numbers, kind of hovering around 10 every single game. And if the shot's not falling, he kind of has that to fall back on for some fantasy scoring. But yeah, he's playing huge minutes right now. 40 minutes is definitely in play here, and with this game being close, I think he's got really big upside. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about DeJounte though. I mean, I like the spot if he's in, but the questionable tag definitely has me worried if he is actually injured or if it's just the trade thing. But if he's in, I mean, he's playing really well right now, scoring the ball well, 22 points in 4 straight games at least. So he's fine. 7.4K price is starting to come down. Just doesn't really have the ceiling you need from a guy in that range while sharing the floor with Trae Young. So I'd be looking elsewhere. And probably to no surprise of everybody that watches the show, have interest in Jalen Johnson. Even at 7K, he busted for us a few games ago in a really good spot. But that was more so he got into foul trouble. He's been getting into foul trouble a couple of times, so that's kind of limited the minute ceiling from him. But I think on a regular game with just no funny business with the fouls, he's going to get close to 40 minutes. I could definitely see that again here. And the Sixers are not a good rim defense, like I mentioned, and they're terrible in transition, which are two of the areas that Jalen Johnson excels in. So I think I'm going to be playing a good amount of him, and I don't see a lot of people going to him at 7K. If Capella is out, a lot of interest in Onyeka Okongwu. He's a really solid fantasy producer in his career, and 4.8K, solid price tag, power forward eligible too, which is huge. So he would be very much in play and in a good spot. And then, yeah, I think Bogdanovich, Sadiq Bey very much in play, especially if DeJounte Murray is out, gonna need to command more usage in the second unit. So those guys are totally fine as well. But yeah, this is a really, really good game to target.
Yeah, you couldn't have broke it down any better. I mean, especially if we don't get this. This is the most important news on the slate is the Atlanta guys. And if we don't get it before that first lock time with 4 locking at 7 Eastern, again, if we didn't, it would be right at 7 Eastern. But man, that's a lot of good games and teams and positions where maybe people wouldn't have room for Okongwu as much, or Trae Young or Jalen Johnson. They all get massive bumps. I mean, no Capella, Okongwu is one of the best plays on the slate. No DeJounte, Jalen Johnson, Sadiq Bey, Bogdanovich, Trae, all of them. Like the Hawks are great plays, and they're not going to project like that because projections have DeJounte and Capella in. But that definitely will change the slate, and I would love to get overweight on that. You mentioned like great game environment anyway. Tyrese Maxey, I have a little more interest in Paul Reed, but I do understand exactly what you're saying. And center is loaded. I do think he gets a little ownership though. So hey, fading someone that's going to get a little ownership, you can never go wrong with that. Love the Tobias price tag at 6.9. So let's say DeJounte's out, and you obviously, as Tambo says, his DK app works. He can play both. But Tobias Harris or Jalen Johnson for pretty much the same price.
If you said if DeJounte is out?
Correct.
I don't know, man. That's really tough.
Both are great plays.
Yeah, both are great plays. I don't really know if like how big of a usage bump Jalen's going to see. Just looking at it quickly, he's kind of he's a low usage guy. He's more so just like a pick and roll and like kind of cut to the rim type of player, and gets there with steals and rebounding. So I don't necessarily think that like the usage standpoint is going to change much for a guy like Jalen Johnson, more so Bogdanovich. But yeah, I probably would side with Jalen Johnson though. I think that the upside is a little bit better than Tobias Harris's.
Makes sense. Yeah, this game, definitely monitor the news. It's an important one at 7:30 Eastern. But last question, are you going to make a rule, like you said in that Pacers-Washington game, min one of this game on like a Maxey Tobias, just Maxey Tobias, Jalen Johnson, etc.? You going to do any min one rule for this one?
I don't think so. Just it's not the same type of spot for the Sixers side, because I think you're really for me, I'm only considering 3 guys really. So I think that I'll just get overweight them I'll just have a bunch. I don't know if I'll have min one just because there's only 3 guys to choose from, whereas Indy there's a good amount. Washington has like 4 to 5 guys I'm considering, but I'll definitely be overweight in this game for sure.
I like it. We have 2 games left on the slate, and yeah, you're probably like, man, they've talked 54 minutes on 6 games on an 8-game slate. Well, these last two games are pretty much going to be very, very quick for me. A lot of my teams are going to be done at 7:30 Eastern, and then I got time to chill a bit. But what's going on, Conscious? What's going on, Danny? Coach is in here, Justin in here as well. And yeah, Danny reminds it again. I'm not even going to say it. I feel bad asking too much, but you can read the screen, and we appreciate it a ton. 212 people out there watching. Hope all 212 of you, now 211, having a great day. Maybe the other man was not having a good day, but 2 games left. Houston Rockets, Chicago Bulls, 216 total. Bulls favored by 4. Injury report for Houston. Eason out. Dylan Brooks out still. Chicago side, nothing to worry about. 2 healthy teams. Low total. Really, really easy stay away from me. If I had to pick anyone, I don't know. Sengun is a contrarian spend, but like, is his upside? Can he get you 60 at this center position, which is probably what you want on a slate like this? Levine, I guess, at 6'7". If I had to pick anyone, but yeah, like I said, I don't like these last 2 games. 8-game slate, make it a 6-gamer, make it pretty much a 5-gamer with that Boston Minnesota game too. So I got nothing. What about you?
Yeah, that's definitely the way I was approaching the slate. I think that's a pretty easy cross off. Such a bad game environment, low game total, 2 really solid defenses, 2 slow paced teams. So I think that you could definitely look elsewhere. There's a couple of guys that are in consideration. I think that Kobe White is kind of fine as a contrarian play. He's just seen his minutes have been fine regardless of Zach LaVine and Vucevic, seen 38, 40, and 42, got up to 46.5, 44, and 43 DK points. So I think that he's a fine option at 7.2K. Like you mentioned, LaVine, no minutes limit on him now. Got to 36 minutes last game versus the Hornets, but he seemed a little timid in terms of shooting the ball. Didn't really take a ton of shots, wasn't really driving the ball a lot. So I would be looking elsewhere, especially if there's any sort of ownership. I'm seeing double-digit ownership on him, so that seems like a pretty easy fade spot. And then Jabari Smith kind of has a slightly positive matchup with the Bulls being more of a 3-point funnel. But, I mean, his minutes are going to be safer too with Tari Eason. But, yeah, I'm in agreement with you, though. This is kind of a X-off game for me.
Yeah, last game, 32 minutes, 17 DK points, 32, 29, 32, 24. Did have that big one in there with a lot of rebounds. But, yeah, pretty much 8-game slate, make it a 5-game slate is how I'm playing it. With if you won off something in these games, I think that's fine. What's up, Chi-Town? I was just messing around, but we appreciate those words. Hope you're having a good one, Sean. Pelicans, Warriors, 234 total. Pelicans favored by 2. There is injury news in this one, especially on the Pelican side. Zion questionable. Jose Alvarado questionable. Do remember, though, this game is 30 minutes, or it's the last game of the night by 30 minutes, and it's an hour after that Philly-Atlanta game. And I'm not going to have really any roster spot. Like Jaren Jackson, we knew we were going to play Memphis anyway. However, that news broke, it was going to be fine. If we don't get the Zion news prior to the Philly Hawks game, I really don't care. Like, even if he is ruled out, they got enough bodies, Ingram, Joval, CJ. I'm not backloading or anything for the Zion news. If we get it earlier in the day, yeah, bump a CJ, bump a Brandon Ingram maybe, but they're still priced up. So Alvarado's also questionable. That doesn't mean as much. Warriors side, CP3, obviously Draymond's still out, probably coming back pretty soon. It sounds like Gary Payton out as well. CP3, the main one, hurting his hand. I don't know, though, man. All these guys are priced up like they should be. It's an X for me. Any lean on Zion? And then what do you see in this one?
Hard to tell with Zion because it seems like if he just gets scratched, he's out for a couple games. So he's probably going to be out, would be my lean. Can't play on back-to-backs even at 23 years old. So, yeah, big struggle for him. I remember somebody in Discord the other night was saying, I think it was Rusty Jones was saying that the conversation for like Zion versus Ja Morant got a little bit closer now that Ja is out for the season. I don't think that it's even close. Ja is clearly the better franchise player in my opinion. I've seen enough out of Zion to know that he doesn't really take basketball seriously. But yeah, in terms of matchup, the Pelicans, they've been one of the better defenses over the past month or so, pretty much in every category. So this is kind of a bad spot for the Warriors in every which way you paint it. I mean, it's better spot for 3-point shooters, catch and shoot 3-point shooters. So I think that Klay Thompson just playing as good as he has been lately, shooting the ball really well. He's in play, but not like running to play him by any means. I think Pods is fine. But the rotation is still so deep for the Warriors right now that I don't think that any one of these guys kind of grades out as a great play. And then, I don't even think that like the Zion news really changes much. Obviously, Ingram and CJ are going to see more usage. Maybe Jonas Valanciunas will see a higher minutes for, but he's been kind of losing run to Larry Nance Jr. Just he kind of fits the mold of the team a little bit better in terms of the way that they want to play. But yeah, I mean, Trey Murphy's even priced up 5.6K. Herb Jones 5.5K. It doesn't really show that big of a ceiling. So I don't think that you're really like gaining that much by waiting for the Zion news. You should just probably be looking to jam in these 5 games that we talked about and kind of X this one out.
I love it. Love being lockstep with you, Rio. Again, the Hawks news, the story of the slate, the Indy-Washington game, Detroit, San Antonio, Philly, Atlanta, our favorite games, but definitely that Atlanta news, Capella, DeJounte, Q-Tags are very important on this slate, and that is 30 minutes after. And again, we touched, there's 10 games in the association, only 8 games on FanDuel and DK, but the last 2 games we will have projections, showdown core report that Rio does, breaks down his favorite plays, a little slate breakdown down below as well. And again, we do have projections, we do have ownership for that, and a lot of members have had success in those streets. So, hey, if you can't play during or this hour and a half window doesn't work for you, you're having a bad day and you want to chase, we do not recommend ever doing that. Or if you're having a great day and you want some more action, make sure to check out that Showdown Core Report. Again, remember, golf locks tomorrow, MMA this week, NFL this week, NBA, of course, NHL. No better time to get over. Plenty of money to be made. That's what we, Rio and myself, will be looking to do. Use that promo code MAYO. Gets you 10% off any package, monthly, 6-month, or annual. And if you do join, get in the Discord. Awesome stuff as always, Rio. Hope everybody out there has a great night. Get that SHIPIT Nation logos on your DraftKings or FanDuel. Hey, it might give you just a little better chance to get to the top there. Have a great night. Be safe. Great stuff as always, Rio. For my man, Rio, I'm Titletown. Good night. Have a good one.